It's called Jura. No, this is a.
It's right there on the bottle.
I know, but it's a big name. It's a big name.
Yeah.
It's Jura Diuachs.
You did it just right. You were there.
I know. Will you? Shh. You know, John and I don't always.
This is going to be our best episode ever.
Yes. despite how we're getting started here. Coming to you from the Beer to Whiskey Studios, high atop Barley's Tap Room on Washington Street in one of America's great cities, Greenville, South Carolina. I'm Russ Heaps, and welcome to this episode of Anything But Bourbon. And I'm sitting here with my good buddy, Big John Richards, who is our beer whisperer at Beer to Whiskey, but I love drinking with him. And he's got a great palate, and so and plus we're already here at Barley's doing beers, so we're going to do the whiskey stuff as well.
Fields are wet and
whatever. So this is an episode where we find something that isn't bourbon. In this case, it's a Scotch, and in this case, I can't even remember what it is. We've done a lot of these today. It's Jura Diuachs. It's called Jura. No, this is a.
It's right there on the bottle.
I know, but it's a big name. It's a big name.
Yeah.
It's Jura Diuachs.
You did it just right. You were there.
I know. Will you? Shh. You know, John and I don't always.
This is going to be our best episode ever.
Yes. Despite how we're getting started here. It's Jura Diuachs Own single malt Scotch.
Yes.
And Diuachs being what they call the folks who live on Jura Island, which is about 60 miles off the coast of Scotland, every family on the island has somebody that works at the distillery. And it's from I understand from my reading, it's a fairly light, it's a non-peaty Scotch.
Wait, you haven't tried this?
No, I have not. This is, I forgot to mention the fact I have this bottle because it came from Brother Hal McLean in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Brother Hal.
Brother Hal, we salute you. So this was something that he passed on. It was already open when he gave it to me, when he was sort of downsizing his whiskey collection, which was the saddest day of my life, but also the happiest because I wound up with a lot of good stuff.
Right.
So anyway, this is, go ahead. This is a single malt Scotch that is produced on this Jura Island. And one of the you've got to always have an interesting backstory to some of this stuff. And the interesting backstory is the Lord of the, they started producing this in 1810. The Lord of the Island, for 30 years, would not permit distilling Scotch on the island.
Is that a real thing?
Yes.
The Lord of the Island?
The Lord of the Island. I don't know what that means. I have nothing.
Can I be the Lord of the Island? And,
if you buy an island, I guess you could probably be Lord of it.
Okay, all right. Back to the story.
Yes. So
I can't buy an island.
The Lord of the Island.
I can't even buy a bottle of Scotch.
The Lord of the Island prohibited distilling Scotch on the island. And then, suddenly, one night he had a visit from sort of a Christmas Carol like ghost, a Dickens sort of ghost, who scolded him and scared the ever-living crap out of him. And he woke up the next day and said, let's distill some Scotch. That's part of the folklore of this.
Kind of thing usually happens to me after I drank too much Scotch, not before.
I know. And that's, he might have been drinking bourbon or beer or something else. So who knows?
Maybe.
So anyway, The price of this is between 75 and $100 a bottle. It's 80 proof, and it's aged 16 years, 14 years in American oak barrels, and 2 years in sherry barrels. So
16 is a really good number for Scotch. That's like once you get to 16, 18, you're talking about high end Scotch.
well, I think 16 is pretty high
That's
end.
what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
Tex Miss Lily.
That's big. Whoa. It's a lot of nose. Gotta put that down. I gotta get my nose out of it. Wow, that was big. All right. Let's do this thing.
A lot of floral. I'm getting some floral
Yeah.
on the front end of this.
Okay, there we go. For a while, I was way off. I was off in La La Land for a second. This is
If you poured this for me and told me this was a bourbon, I would believe it. Other than the floral part of it.
Yeah, because
The-
it
the-
smells.
It doesn't smell like a bourbon, doesn't smell like a Scotch. It doesn't.
No, it smells. It's either going to sound really bad or really bad. But for one reason or the other, it's neither one of them is really bad. It smells like a swamp. This smells like swamp to me. Like just enough funky with all of the other things that are living and breathing, and like all the flowers and all the
The flowers is what I'm getting. Let's
trees
continue.
and all of the. There's a lot of biodiversity to swamp that most people don't necessarily know, but swamps don't always smell like. Well, they often smell like feet, but they don't always smell like feet. This doesn't smell like feet; it smells like swamp. And it's all those real earthy, perfumey plants.
I'm with you on the perfumey plants part of it.
Oh, that's fun. That's a big, like, I had to get it away from me for a second, like that kind of a nose.
But I don't know if it's just what we've been drinking already. We shoot a bunch of these together.
Well, right.
But I'm getting a caramel thing on the back end of this.
It's definitely
Am I wrong?
caramel. No, it is. The front end of it is Scotch, and I get the land without getting the real peat. Like you said, it's unpeated. It doesn't smell smoky or funky or
No,
dirty
there's none of
way.
that.
But I get the land of Scotland that identifies it as a Scotch to me very early on. The back of it is all caramel and wood and a little vanilla and the sweetness of the maturation. And there's 16 years behind this, so I'm not surprised by that, I think. But
What a nice whiskey.
that's really wonderful. Like, that's versatile too, where
I
you
would have never guessed it was a single malt Scotch.
Right.
Would have never guessed it.
I probably would have guessed it was a blended Scotch.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I get a little bit of that front end, but the back end's so smooth. And it feels very versatile to me in what you could do with it. You could sit down and smoke a cigar with it. Although I would think something on the lighter end, like a Macanudo or something on the less spicy end, would compete better with this versus, I don't know, like a Big Hoy, the Nicaragua or a Davidoff or something that's, well, even the Davidoffs tend to be a little bit lighter. But then you could also sit down and drink this with food. Just, you could put this next to, a roast chicken. And all
a boar leg.
Yes. Good plan, Russ. That's just putting drops of water in his scotch, in his whiskey, which is the ideal way. And for those of you at home who've never watched one of these before,
Shame on you.
shame on you. And
But welcome.
what? This is a perfectly viable tactic for your house, and it will absolutely blow your mind how much 2 little drops of water will contribute, will cut the aggressiveness of your whiskey and let it just sit on your palate and experience it better. See, I went from smelling like swamp to smelling like Gatlinburg, like fudge and candy makers.
You get stuff from Big John you wouldn't get from anybody else. That's why he's here.
It smells like what happens when you walk into a fudge shop.
See, but you know what I'm getting out of this? What I'm now getting out of it?
Yeah,
You know how you smell green apples and everything?
yeah, green apples.
I'm
All
getting
right.
green apples out of this.
I don't think you're wrong. Oh, well, every candy shop in Gatlinburg has a candied apple in it.
Well, okay, so we've resolved that issue.
Maybe we fixed that one.
No, I really am. I'm getting a
Yeah, you're not wrong. I don't think you're wrong.
holy cow. And I've never gotten that. You've got bourbons. I know Eagle Rare's your favorite bourbon, and you always come up with that out of that. I've never gotten it like I'm getting it out of this.
Wow.
Right now. I didn't get it until I put water in it, but like, holy moly.
Well, that's super fun.
I think this is a good gateway scotch
Yeah.
for people who don't drink scotch, because I'm not a scotch drinker. I will drink it, and I've had some really good scotch, and I get why it's good, but that's not my go-to. But I've got to say, for somebody who's thinking about jumping into,
Yeah.
Dalwhinnie was always the thing that I told people.
Oban. We did an Oban with Josh once some time ago.
But
That's intro. And that's
this is a good introduction to it.
a beautifully balanced scotch.
Wow, all I'm getting is green apple. I
There
don't
it
know
is.
what's going on.
Russ is converted.
I am like, yeah. So, anything else?
No. Let's let these people go.
All right,
And let's finish this. But not right this second.
not this second. So damn lucky. See you next time.